What I'm about to show you in this case study could quite literally double your close rate within the next 90 days. And this specific case study I'm going to show you increased my close rate by 70% overnight. Now stick with me though, because it's going to get quite technical, but I promise to break it down to a principle level, give you a one-pager that you can give to your team so you can take the resources, the knowledge, the information that I'm going to give you in this video and actually apply it back in your business. And I promise you, if you are running your offer at any sort of scale, this may be the biggest needle mover you will ever implement into your business. My name's Sam Queen. Some people like to call me the Close Doctor, and I make content that doesn't suck. To some, it might be a little boring, but to the right person, you're gonna love what I'm gonna walk you through here. Why do they call me the Close Doctor? Because I prescribe solutions to businesses that need to close more deals faster. So if you're looking for a sales operator to sit within your business to solve problems like we're going to walk through right here, I'll leave a link down in the description below to book a call with me or someone on my team. I've made a video on this topic before on this channel around lead scoring and how to cherry pick the best leads, but this is going to be a very in-depth case study for one of the businesses that I was fortunate enough to work in, where I increased their close rate by nearly 70% overnight. This video is going to show you the ins and outs of exactly every single step I took to get there and the thought process behind it. Now, the business we're going to cover is a credit offer. This business helps business owners stack up 0% interest credit. Businesses will use this service for various different reasons. Maybe they're looking for funding to put into their business venture. Maybe they're just looking to get 0% interest for balance transfers because they have a lot of debt. Or maybe they're looking to learn these processes, these skills, so they can just start flying around the world for free with all the points that they can get from this model. Regardless, what I'm going to show you today can be implemented in any coaching, consulting, or service-based offer that I've ever seen. As long as you have the opportunity to survey your audience at some point during the funnel, this will work for you. Not only have I implemented this system into the business that I'm going to show you here, but I've done it across multiple others, and they've all seen the same exact results time and time again. I know this works for an absolute fact. And if you doubt me or question me, link down in the description below, book a call with me or someone on my team so I can prove you wrong. I'll get into the screen share here in a second, where I'm going to walk you through the funnel type that was used here. I'm not going to show this specific business's funnel, but I'm going to show you a VSL funnel. Understand that this business that we're talking about has the same funnel structure for a VSL. Many offers in this industry will use a video sales letter funnel with an opt-in page, the sales letter itself, or a survey page and a schedule page, and then some form of a confirmation page. One of these pages is going to be where you get the opportunity to actually score your leads and understand who has the best chance at actually showing up for their call and signing up for your program. Let's get into the screen share. What a beautiful funnel page this is. This is actually a landing page for a VSL funnel for one of my offers called Sales Flow Transformation. We teach sales reps how to leverage the power of flow states to transform their lives, their business, their income, etc. Hence the screen that you see here. Find your dream role as a remote closer, unlock flow state during life's biggest transitions. An opt-in page like this is pretty standard across the industry for a VSL funnel. There may be some nuances here and there, but we're going to get a name, email, and phone number almost every single time. If you're not collecting a phone number on your opt-in page, you probably should. It's worth the little degradation in your opt-in rate in order to collect that phone number, because sales conversions are actually going to happen in conversations. I say it all the time. Conversions happen in conversations. So if you don't have a phone number, you're probably not having a conversation and you're probably not selling anything. Your opt-in rate will go down 5, 10, 15, 20% by putting that phone number field on there, but you'll make it up on the back end, I promise. So let's opt into this funnel. I'll show you what the case study looks like on the next page. Here's the case study. Some VSL funnels will have a button pop here where you can't just immediately click through. I'm going to rage click through to get to the schedule page because this is where the magic happens. Here I am on the schedule page. If you're running a VSL funnel right now, there might be a chance that you're sending people to an application page first before schedule. I have tested application before schedule. I have tested application on the schedule page, which is what this is right here. And I've also tested application after scheduling. The application after scheduling option will get you more booked calls for a cheaper cost cost, but you're going to have less insight into those leads. The application before scheduling is going to give you less book calls for a more increased cost, but the amount of redirects and fancy schmancy things that you can do with those leads gets really, really creative and fun. So if you are fortunate enough to have a business where an application first prior to booking a call works well, and it is the optimal place for that application to sit, what I'm about to show you is even better in your position. But overall, through all of those tests that I've run throughout the hundreds of coaching and consulting businesses that I've worked with, I found that the application on the schedule page, as you see here, is going to be the most valuable way to attack and approach building your VSL funnel or your schedule page. Now, say you don't have a VSL funnel, but you still have a schedule page, still put your application questions on there. This is not just specific to a VSL funnel. This is specific to getting scheduled calls, asking questions, taking in data, and then leveraging that data to make decisions on how you can optimize your funnel. So why do I keep coming back to the questions? Why are these questions so important? Like I said, I made another video on this channel where I go really high level, 30,000 foot overview on the philosophy and the principle behind it. But to make it easy for you guys to really understand quickly here, I used to have free response application questions in all of my funnels 6 years ago. And I realized, even when I was on the phone, that I never actually did anything with that information. I could ask you, what is your biggest obstacle that you're facing right now? And you can give me a free response answer of, I don't have any money to get started with my business. And no matter what that said, I'm going into the sales call and I'm still going to use the same framework on that sales call. Matter of fact, as I started to lead and manage teams, I would have some sales reps come to me and say, all of my leads are bad. All of my leads are bad. This application is bad. This data is bad. If you take that energy into your sales call, it will be a bad sales call. I threaten to those sales reps, hey, I'm just going to remove your ability to actually see that application data. If you're letting that prejudgment determine how you're going to approach that sales call, you probably don't deserve to see that information, because you should still be facilitating that conversation most likely in the same exact way. So because I realized that free response questions were not useful at all in the sales process, I went to the drawing board and changed all of the questions to multiple choice questions, because with multiple choice questions, I can actually segment that information and make decisions off of that information. This is where if you have your application before a schedule page and you use a tool like Typeform, you'll actually be able to do redirects based on those multiple choice questions before they ever see the schedule page. So if you disqualify a lead, you could actually send them to a setter's calendar versus a closer's calendar, or vice versa, and not have to go through a little bit of extra hoops that I'm going to walk you through here shortly. Now, the big thing to remember when drafting your questions is that you want your questions to actually paint a picture of a different avatar. I'll leave a link down below in the description to this little one pager I've built on a lead scoring guide that'll walk through this in depth, but I'll show you this right here. Application questions. Here's a bad example of a financial qualifier question for a product that requires $1,000 to get started. How much money do you have available to invest in your business? 0 to 500, 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 500, 500 plus. Why is this a bad question? Because both answer A and B are unqualified leads. So it's not a different avatar. That's the same avatar. They're both broke. They're both unqualified. They both cannot sign up or afford our program. Now, we're not just going to make the decision on that alone, and I'll get to that here in a second, but just understand that each answer choice in each question, you want to paint a different picture of a different avatar in the process. Here's an example of a good question. What is the number one thing stopping you from hitting your goals within your business? People would commonly leave this as a free response question, as I said before. Here's some good answers. I don't know where to start. I'm having a hard time scaling. I don't have money to invest into XYZ. Answer choice A is a lead that has not started their journey. B is a lead that has started, is operating, but needs help scaling. And C is another financial qualifier of a lead that does not believe they have any money to invest. Once again, I will not make the decision on this application based on that answer choice alone. I'm going to collect the data and let the data tell me what to do. But this is most certainly 3 different avatars, 3 different buckets of leads. So that's going to be the why and the how behind how we actually build questions. Once again, if you're on the schedule page with your questions, or if you're in the application stage with your questions before the schedule page, you still want to keep in mind how you're asking the question, because this information, this data is going to be so valuable to you in what I'm going to show you right now. I use Close.com as my CRM for my business and all the businesses that I consult for the most part, some of them HubSpot. Once I had enough application data from the new questions that I drafted, I exported all of that information, uploaded it to a Google Sheet. I also exported all of my Stripe data, all of my PayPal data. I then use VLOOKUP functions inside of Google Sheets. We're not going to teach those in this video, to match every single application with pretty much a 0 or a 1. Did they sign up? Yes or no? Did they no-show? Yes or no? And if they did sign up, how much money came in? Because what I'm going to be able to do now is attach each application to each answer to whether or not they signed up and how much money was actually generated from that application alone. Why am I doing this? Because I'm not going to let my brain and what I think be the driver of how I redirect leads throughout my funnel. That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get leads down the path that makes the most sense for them. The unqualified leads, like I'm going to show you in here, about 50% of them, the unqualified leads on your top closers calendar are taking up so much of their time where they could be speaking to qualified leads. Imagine a world where your top closer always spoke to the top leads, and then you're able to take those other leads that maybe aren't ready for your product or service, pull them back into a nurture sequence or send them to an SDR to actually triage them. So later, 30, 60, 90 days, they could be ready for your product or service. On your screen here, you see the questions that were asked for this credit offer. Are you looking to use this for your business? No, nothing business related. Yes, to scale. Yes, to start. 3 different buckets, 3 different avatars. Have you ever gone through bankruptcy? What I love about credit offers is you can ask really piercing financial questions and it doesn't feel abrasive because it's a credit offer. What's your average FICO score? Once again, this would not make a ton of sense to ask if you sold like an e-commerce offer. There would be a different question you may ask here as a financial qualifier. This makes a ton of sense here for credit offers. What's your monthly income? And then total amount of credit you have at your disposal. Looking back at the what is your monthly income question, I don't love the buckets or the answer choices that I came up with here. I might have segmented them a little bit more, but overall, I think the questions that I developed here were pretty solid. And you're going to see highlighted here that there's one leading indicator. I didn't have to go build Python regression models or fancy lead scoring models, which I do if there's not one leading indicator. But in this specific case study, this specific business that we're talking about, there was one leading indicator that told us all of the information that we needed to know, which made all of the difference in the world. So let's zoom in to what is your average FICO score. We've got 500 to 600, 600 to 649, lower than 500. So everything here is 650 and below. And then we have 650 and above, 650 to 699, 700 to 749, 750 plus. I've added some conditional formatting to make it easy on your eyes here. And the columns that I broke down is what percent of leads actually answered that question. What percent of the population does that answer actually make up of all leads? What percent of our students, our members, and what percent of, or what is the count for our students and members, and then what percent of the population do they make up? How many dollars were brought in for each question and answer? What percentage of total dollars is that? What is that as a DPL or dollars per lead? I've got another video on this channel, how to track the right metrics, that you can check out, in a blog as well on our website that you can check out for more information on DPL and why I think it's a really good North Star indicator for a sales team. Your no-show count, your no-show percentage, and your show rate. So the average FICO score question, if you had lower than a 650 credit score, you had a 1.7% chance of closing, a 3% chance of closing, a 1.6% chance of closing. But if you had greater than a 650 credit score, you had a 7.4%, 11.3%, or 13.2. What do those average out to here? Let's see the average there. It's not an actual average, but 2.1% there and 10%. We're talking about a 5x difference in the close rate based on that one application question alone. So if we didn't have a leading indicator that was just so blatantly obvious like this, what we would do would be building a Python regression model. We would be taking all of these data points for every question and every answer, assigning correlation coefficients to them, normalizing that score in a confusion matrix. They are as confusing as they sound, and then putting that into a formula, running that all through Zapier, and it does get quite complicated, but it might be what you have to do. Why we do that is because we're not relying on our thought. We're not relying on our mental. We're not relying on our predetermined judgment on who we think will be a better lead. Check this out. Have you ever gone through a bankruptcy? I bet you, if you didn't look at this data, you would have told me that people that have went through a bankruptcy would have been exponentially worse less leads than people that haven't. But if you look at that, we're talking about a 5% close rate compared to a 6.8% close rate. It is quite significant. That's about 30% difference overall, but much closer than this question is. So in a world where there's no one leading indicator, you will want to go down the rabbit hole of building Python regression model. You got to work with someone way smarter than me. I've got a data scientist on my team that we work with. Once again, link down in the description if you want to book a call with me or someone on my team to talk about that. But this case study in particular, super simple to implement. Oh, I don't want to go make any radical changes to my funnel yet without doing the math, figuring out what's going to happen. So I took all that information. I know how many leads that I get. I know how much a lead costs, and I built a calculator for it. And this is what this calculator looked like. This is that actual data that I just walked you through on the previous tab. And this is that same data, but with a calculator. So if this is our cost per strategy session and we see this many leads, what will that breakdown be? And what does it look like then if we remove the less than 650 leads? If we get rid of the unqualified leads, a couple things are probably going to happen. You might see your cost per lead deteriorate a little bit because you're going to probably end up spending more money, right? So if we're removing these leads from the funnel, we can either decide, okay, I'm going to keep my sales team lean. I'm going to keep it really small. I'm just going to keep my best people. Or if we remove them from the funnel, we can decide, heck, let's go spend more money. Let's go spend more money, fill those calendars back up, still get rid of those unqualified leads. But now we know that our calendar will always be filled with only the leads we determine to be qualified. That's what this looks like here. So if we have a cost per strategy session that looks like this, if our cost per strategy session starts to deteriorate, or our cost per book call starts to deteriorate, who knows what's going to look like until you actually start spending the money. But there's a possibility you spend more money on Facebook, that cost per call goes down. There's a possibility if you're running at a really big scale and your audiences are small, that cost per call is going to go up. And then what percentage of revenue do we think we'll still be able to capture from the less than 650 leads? Because we're not just tossing them out. We're not just throwing them away. We still want to make money. It's not that they produce $0, but what percent of the revenue do we think we can capture? And what does that difference look like at the end of the day with the numbers that I currently have in there? We're going to see a 63% increase in the amount of cash that we're going to collect in this business. Did it work? Let's see. Like I said, it's quite complex, maybe a little boring. There's a lot of numbers on your screen here and what I'm walking you through. But what you see now is week over week, how many leads, how many units, what's my close percentage, dollars collected, installments, total cash, top line, dollars per lead for cash, dollars per lead for revenue, and then my average order value. These are all metrics I love to track inside of pretty much every single business that I operate within. And you can kind of see the story that makes sense for this business. This is week one. When you launch a product or service, if you have an existing following, you're probably, if you built up a big launch or you had a big promo, you're probably gonna have a really high close rate up front. And then over time, that close rate is gonna start to degrade. Here we are 12 weeks in, or about 2.5, 3 months in, and we're gonna see a massive drop off in our close rates. We went from an average in our first 12 weeks of 16.7% because we had a warm audience that we're able to target in affiliate deals and JV relationships when we launched this brand. And then we go down to an average of 5.7%. So we cut that by about 70%. And we run there for quite some time, unfortunately. Couple big spikes right here with close rate. But overall, this business, I can't lie, was struggling because we couldn't figure out how to sell this dang thing. We were running at about break even for over a year. And it wasn't until we found this one golden nugget, we were able to change how we marketed and how we took leads to the funnel, that everything changed. So when did that happen? A year in. Check that out. 52 weeks. Week 53 is when we actually able to implement this lead scoring model. When we found that the leading indicator of someone's propensity to show up and close was what was their credit score. We actually went back to the VSL page on the landing page and we said, do not opt in here if you have less than a 650 credit score. Or in every single ad, we said, this is if you have a 650 credit score. To this day, every single ad says if you have a 650 credit score. So we're able to take that information, actually pull it all the way to the top of the funnel so that messaging stays through and we're capturing the right leads the whole way through. If you're optimizing for leads and lead cost, and that's all you're doing, you're not optimizing for the right lead, you might get cheap leads, but if you're getting the wrong lead, you're killing your Facebook pixel. You're destroying it. You're teaching Facebook that this lead is okay when it's actually not. So you might want a lot of leads coming through your funnel, but In reality, you only want the right leads coming through your funnel, because as you continue to optimize for that, if Facebook thinks it's doing a good job, over time, it's going to be doing not a very good job. So we put that messaging on the page, and then we also added another question. So this was a Typeform embed instead of this ClickFunnels embed. And that Typeform embed asked name, email, phone number, and what is your credit score? That Typeform then redirected to the same VSL, but on different pages. So they're going to watch the same video, but it's a slightly different URL, because the next page is going to be a different schedule page. And the qualified leads with greater than a 650 credit score are going to land on our best closers pages, and the less than qualified leads are just going to land on our setters calendars, and they're going to have to get triaged, and we're going to have to work them a little bit more to make them qualified. And if you notice in this application question breakdown for the questions that we're talking about, the percent of the population of the leads that were less than 650 credit score is an astounding 50%, exactly 50%, 50.5%. So imagine a world where 50% of our leads that only make up 18% of our population, we're still able to capture them, we're still able to sell stuff to them, but the better 50% are only landing on your top people's calendars, the ones that you know are the closers, the deal makers of the world. So in our messaging, we're saying 650. On the landing page, we're saying 650. They're seeing different VSLs. Now they can land on different schedule pages. Ran into a little bit of a problem after we ran into these massive results. So back to our summary page here. Let's take the 10 weeks before 52 through 43 and see what our average close rate was before we implemented this. Ooh, 6.2%. Not terrible, depending on what your cost per lead is. I can say for this business, it was not profitable at 6.2%. If we then take the 10 after that, so we're going to go 62 to 71. We went from a 6.2% average to a 12.7% average. That is not a 6% increase in close rate. That is over 100% increase in close rate. That is doubling the size of the business because of this. And you can see that happening with the amount of revenue that we are closing as well. And what that looks like for the 10 weeks prior is an average of $52,000 in revenue per week. And then for the 10 weeks after, we're talking about an average of $125,000 in revenue per week. A little bit more than 2x. See, we 2x the close rate. That's because we can also increase the lead count. All right, so we're 2xing the close rate. We're going to 2x our revenue. This happened overnight. I mean, literally overnight. If you can install this in your business, it can happen overnight for you too. I've seen it happen in many, many other businesses as well, including Pace Morby, Jamil Damji, Tariq Al Musa. This works time and time again. So I mentioned we ran into a little bit of problem with that. You see the numbers, great increases. The problem we ran into is that one additional question on the landing page of what is your credit score actually took our opt-in rate from about 80% down to 60%. Pretty big jump. We weren't willing to sacrifice that fewer of leads, even though we're getting the ability to segment the leads. We weren't willing to really sacrifice that number of leads, 25% less coming through our funnel and our lead costs going up by that much. Because if we didn't have that question there, we could still capture 100% of the leads that we used to capture before. So instead of putting that question there, we put that question on the schedule page itself, on that same Once Hub page that I showed you previously in my personal funnel. That will not allow you to redirect that lead initially. I think Calendly might have a feature that allows you to do this, but as far as I know, neither Calendly or Once Hub will allow you to do this. Once again, if you're application first, heck yeah, you can do this. That's way easier. That's the same as what I showed you on the opt-in page if you added that question on the opt-in page. So what do you do? Now you ask that question on your schedule page and someone says, I have less than a 600 credit score. I would then take that scheduled call from Once Hub and use it as a trigger inside of Zapier. Send that to a Slack channel that would notify a virtual assistant on my team, hey, we gotta go cancel or reassign this call. One thing I love about Once Hub, I know there's a lot of Calendly stands out there. One thing I love about Once Hub is you can actually reassign a lead to someone. So in a world where there's an SDR that had calendar space available, we could actually reassign that lead to that SDR and the lead itself would be none the wiser. The closer now has that calendar space open back up. They can take another qualified lead in that position and the SDR, the setter, can now triage that lead to try to pull them back in. And that's that percent of less than 650 revenue that I was talking about that we could still collect. Yeah, gets a little messy at scale. If you're running, hundreds of book calls a day, like some of the businesses I work with, then that's a lot of maintenance. But one VA can still manage the whole thing. It's a very point and click process. Unfortunately, I found no way to actually automate the reassigning part of it. If you can't reassign the lead because there's no calendar space available at the same time, we would cancel the call. We would not send a notification that their call was canceled. That part's really, really important. In OneSub, you get the ability to say whether or not I'm going to send a notification that this call is canceled. We would not do that. And instead, there would be no text that would go out from the closer, because we usually have automations from book calls, from the lead owner. We would stop that text from going out with our filters and instead reassign an SDR lead owner. And that SDR would say, hey, contact name, lead owner here with company name. Have a few questions about your application. Do you have 5 minutes to chat today? That person knows that their call is not coming up. Someone's getting in touch with them to talk about their application before their call. They get the opportunity to triage that lead, put it back on the closer's calendar. Once again, closer had that space moved up. They can still talk to that lead later if they were qualified. But overall, that closer now has the ability to only speak for qualified leads, but they don't have as full of a calendar anymore. We now know that 50% of the leads are unqualified, so that closer's calendar is going to be 50% as full. We would find that like the whole 50% was too much, so we added a little throttle inside of Zapier where we control like 10% of the leads getting disqualified, or 20% or 30%, all the way up to 50%. And that throttle depended on availability. We always want to keep people full because that's how you retain sales reps. We could play with that lever in this process. Now you spend more money to fill that calendar up, and just like that, you too can see the exact results that I walked you through in this video. You do need to give the data enough time to collect though. You do need to give enough space. I think I say in this one pager that I showed earlier, and I'll leave it down in the link in the description, that you probably want at least 1,000 leads and 100 purchases. You want significant data, especially if you're going to take the Python regression model route. That significant data is going to be really important to give you an accurate formula for your lead scoring model. And God forbid you build the wrong model and you make the wrong decision or the wrong choice, or you have the wrong data, you're asking the wrong question, and now you turn this redirect on and you're actually hurting your business. Once again, if you don't want to do that, link down in the description, book a call with me or someone on my team. But if you're able to find one question, one leading indicator, like I showed you in this case study here, that's all you need. You don't need to go build the fancy schmancy Python regression model. You can just do a redirect at top of funnel. You can put it inside of your marketing messaging. You can do it at the bottom of the funnel after they actually schedule the call, and the lead will never know that they were ever canceled or they ever landed on a different calendar. So it actually isn't hurting anything in your process. Once again, I filmed another video on this exact topic on this channel. It's called how to pick the best leads. I'll put it on the screen here. Shout out to my video editor. It looks like this. I'll put a link down in the description for that video as well if you want to watch that. But it really is all about asking better questions. You have to ask the right questions. There's another video on this channel called Ask Better Questions, where I cover a little bit of this as well. So how to ask better questions so you can write better copy, how to ask better questions so you can close more deals, and how to ask better questions so you can lead bigger teams. The close more deals portion is this lead scoring part of it. And you really want to put some intent behind those questions. Once you build those questions, let that data build up, let it run. Get yourself 100 purchases with that data. Once you have those 100 purchases, you could get away with a little less, but I really like 100. I like working with big businesses when it comes to building models like this, where time allocation of resources is really, really important. With that data, you then take it inside of Google Sheets, pull in all your application questions and answers, pull in all your Stripe data, pull in your lead statuses so you know whether or not a lead signed up. It's just a 0 or a 1 at the end of the day. Yes or no, did they sign up? And then assign those questions and answers to those values and figure out how much does each question and each answer actually produce for your company, and use the data to drive how you make your decision. Too many times, I know I've said this, I think 3 times already, too many times people's own judgment gets in the way on what they think the best quality lead is, or what they think makes the most sense. I love to ask, what's your employment status? And many people would think that unemployed individuals would be the worst segment of leads. They're unemployed, they don't have any money. But if you're selling a job op or a biz op and it's, somewhat affordable, the unemployed person is looking to go do something. They might actually be a better lead for you when it comes to the quality, their ability to show up. Actually, no, that's not true. I've never seen unemployed people have a higher show rate, but I have seen them have a higher close rate than other questions and answers. That's it for you, gang. I don't know where this clocked in at. Hopefully somewhere around 30 minutes. I hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, my name's Sam Queen. Some people like to call me Close Doctor. I help service-based businesses with high ticket offers scale to 7 to 8 figures using these very systems-based selling strategies, among many others. This happens to be my absolute favorite one. I hope you enjoyed this video, this case study. I plan on making more strategic, boring, but content that doesn't suck like this. So stay on the channel, like this video, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know if you implement this in your business, or if you're looking for help on how to draft those questions. I'm happy to help you draft those questions for free. Just book a call with me. Don't forget to subscribe as always, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.